everyone, Sarah here for My Favourite Things. Today we're going to talk about the new Contempo Cage Dynamics and Stamp set. This is a gorgeous set. I'm absolutely in love with it. And it has two pieces, a nice big stamp set with lots of different elements that we'll have a look at in a second, and this gorgeous die. Now this is a really big die. The cage is over 3.5 inches tall. So it is absolutely adorable, and of course you have a little bird and a little teardrop sort of shape for his wing. So I'm also going to show you a wee tent card that I made using this set today. Now I didn't use that many stamps on my card, so let's have a quick look at the stamps first. Now this is upside down to begin with. This is my sample set, so it looks a little bit different from your set. Your set will be nicely printed in a beautiful package, of course. But you have a few different chain sort of elements that you can hang your cage from, a lovely flourish, and then you have your wee birds here, and so many little different options for the wings. It's adorable. There's a wee heart here, little bird footprints which are adorable, music notes which will look wonderful with our music note dynamics as well, of course, and then a bunch of sayings like a little bird told me, you're so incredibly tweet, which is the one I've used on my card today. Lots of things, and there's also a wee perch for the bird, so I wanted to show you that because I haven't used it on my card, but I'm sure you've seen lots of samples from the other girls on the design team where they have stamped the perch and then stamped a bird over top. So there's lots you can do with the stamp set, but today I'm going to focus mainly on the dynamics, and I've just got something stuck to my dynamic there. Alright, so today I'm going to mainly focus on the dynamics and a wee tent card that you can make with this. So first I'll show you, this is how it cuts and how it looks. I've got this all ready to go for my wee sample that I'm going to show you. It's just adorable, and it will be adorable cut in a variety of materials. I haven't tried it yet, but I really want to try it in vellum. I think it'll look wonderful. So this is the card I wanted to show you, and I just wanted to give you a few details about it because it is it's got a few more elements to it than my cards usually would, I guess. First of all, it is a big card. It is 5.5 inches square. The reason I made it so big is because I needed a really big opening to highlight that adorable cage, because like I said, that's 3.5 inches tall. So yeah, you know, I needed a lot of space there to get that hanging in there. So I basically followed the tent card instructions that you can find on Splitco Stampers, but I thought I'd give you my measurements. So my card base, I started with 11 inches by 5.5 inches, scored it in half as you would with a normal card. And then this part down here is 4 inches by 5.5 inches. So you want it to be the width of your card, and then you just score every inch to make this sort of M shape. So it's got valley and mountain folds. I can never remember which is which is, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's a valley fold and this is a mountain fold, but to me, I think just make an M shape. And then all I've done is I have created the cage, and we're going to talk about that in a second, and I have hung it from the top of my card, and I'll sort of open it up and show you in there. And I've just stuck it on with a wee glue dot. Now my card, I could have put it with twine, I could have sort of hung it from a little bit of ribbon, maybe some linen thread. I chose to add a wee jump ring and some silver chain. I had my jewellery making supplies out already, so I thought I might as well go ahead and add a little bit of silver there. Now, the one thing I wanted to tell you about making this card is I didn't have any circle dies or anything like that that were large enough to make a big window. So what I used was the big circle scissors plus thingy majiggy. I don't use this a lot. I will usually just go for dies, but when you need to make a window that is bigger than usual, I find this really useful. So that's how I created this big window, so we could get that big bird cage in there. And I also cut the frame with the Circle Scissors Plus, I think that's what it's called. So what I did was I cut the window first in my card. So I put my patterned paper down on my card, and this is the random pattern paper from Crepe Paper. It's probably my favorite collection at the moment. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I glued that down, cut the big circle with the Circle Scissors Plus, and then I dialed the dial down. Yep, down a little bit, cut the inside circle, dialed it up a little bit, bigger than it was when I cut the original circle in the card, and that cut the frame shape. So in case you're wondering how I did that, that's all I did. But let's get to that adorable birdcage. So if you can see, I've sort of tried to make it a little 3D, a little fancy. So all I do, I've cut 2 of the birdcage shapes. I've already cut my little bird. Now if you can see, my little bird has his wing popped up, and then to attach it to the bird cage, all I have done is used a teeny bit of Tombow adhesive, and I've just put a little tiny bit on those birdhouse slats and sort of push the bird onto it. I find it's easiest if you sort of hold it upside down, and that bird will give you sort of a bit of a flat surface to work on. Push that down and adhere that to his wing. I like the bird to be a little bit popped up. And then I've gone ahead and I've got my second one. Now if you can see, it's a little bit hard. What I've done is I've taken remnants of hop dots, and I've got a bit of a piece at the top of the bird cage and then 3 pieces along the bottom. Now I'll show you what I mean. These are my Jody boosters. So I've use these sort of little bitty bits that are left over at the side. You could just use a full one and sort of cut it into pieces. I like to use as much of these sheets as I can to get the best value out of them. So they're great for little sort of adhering little bitty pieces. That's what I quite often do. So that's all you need. It's just a bit of adhesive at the top, a bit at the bottom, and then we're just going to layer it together. Trying to look over the camera here, so there we go, simple as. So that sort of gives you a bit of a sort of flat 3D bird cage. So then all I like to do is just carefully sort of tease it apart and just give it a little bit, oh there we go, I've pulled too hard. But just give it a little bit of a bend to sort of create a more rounded embellishment. Now I'm just using Whisper white cardstock, so it's not particularly strong. But yeah, that's all I did really, was just created that little, just to give it a little bit of movement and a little bit more shape inside the card. Now, and the sentiment I've used is "You're so incredibly tweet." I love the font on these sentiments. They're just adorable. Other dynamics I've used on this card are my favourite, the Pretty Posies, of course. And then I have just sort of put it on a foam mat. And then I use the bottom of my paper piecer and I sort of just burnish the flower, and that's how I get that sort of cupped petal. And then I have used the adorable Fancy Flourish dynamic that I made a video on and shared yesterday. I love this thing. I think it looks great behind flowers. It looks great in a multitude of ways. And the last 2 dynamics I've used, this is of course the first class, no, it's not right. What is it? It is the, oh it is, First Place Award ribbon. So that's part of that die set. And I've used the Simply Scallops, the smallest of the Simply Scallops range. And I have 2 layers there. So that's all the details on that card. That's the details on the Contempo Cage die and stamp set. I know you're going to love this one. I squealed when I first saw it. So have fun and enjoy. Bye.